Numantia. Act Roman 1 Scene Roman 1 Enter Scipio 1, and Jugurtha 2. Scipio. This hard and heavy task, the brunt of which the Roman Senate gave me to sustain, hath brought me stress and toil to such a pitch as quite unhinges my o'erburdened brain. A war so long in strange events so rich, wherein so many Romans have been slain. Who dares presume to bring it to a close? Who would not tremble to renew its woes? Jugurtha. Who Scipio, who can boast the great success, the untold valour which in thee abound? The two combined are equal to the stress. Thine arms with glorious triumph shall be crowned. Scipio. The strength inspired by prudent manliness will bring the loftiest summits to the ground, while brutal force moved by a hand insane will change to rugged heaps the smoothest plain. 'Tis needful then and firstly to repress the flagrant madness of our soldiery, who mindful not of glory and noblesse, in gross consuming lust do sunken lie. My sole desire is this, I wish no less, to raise our men from their debauchery. For if the friend will first amendment show, more quickly then will I subdue the foe. Marius. Enter Caius Marius 3. My lord. Scipio. Let notice quick be sent to all our warriors, let the mandate run, that without sloth or hindrance to prevent, they all appear within this place as one. For I would make to them with grave intent a brief harangue. Caius Marius. At once it shall be done. Scipio. Go quickly, for 'tis well that all be told our novel plans, although the means be old. Exit Caius Marius. Jugurtha. Be sure, my lord, there is no soldier here who fears not, loves thee not beyond compare. And since thy valour in its proud career extends from southern seas to northern bare, each man with daring heart devoid of fear, soon as he hears the martial trumpet blare, will in thy service rush to deeds of glory, outstripping far the fabled deeds of story. Scipio. Our first concern must be this rampant vice, which like a canker spreads to curb and tame. For should it run unfettered in a trice, we bid farewell to good repute and fame. This damage must be cured at any price, for should we fail to quench its blazing flame, such vice alone would kindle fiercer war than all the foemen of this land by far. Behind they publish the edict, having first beat the drum to assemble. Order of our generals. Let the soldiers quartered here presently in arms appear, in the chief square one and all. And if any man resist this our summons and decree, let his name as penalty be at once struck off the list. Jugurtha. No doubt, my lord, but it is wise and sane to curb thine army with an iron bit, and hold the soldier back with tightened rein, when he would plunge into the loathsome pit. Our army's force would be a thing in vain, if right and virtue do not go with it, although it march along in proud array, with 1,000 squadrons and with banners gay. At this point there enter as many soldiers as may be in Caius Marius, armed in antique fashion, without arquebuses, and Scipio, ascending a small eminence on the stage, glances round at the soldiers and says, Scipio, by that proud gesture, by the lusty swell of these rich trappings with their martial sheen, my friends, for Romans I do know you well, Romans in build and gallant port I mean, but by the tale these soft white fingers tell, and that rich bloom which on your cheeks is seen, ye seem to have been reared at British fires, and drawn your parentage from Flemish sires. My friends, this widespread languor and decay, which for yourselves hath borne such bitter fruit, nerves up your fallen foes to sterner fray, and brings to naught your valour and repute. This city's walls that stand as firm today as battled rock are witnesses to boot, how all your native strength hath turned to shame, and bears no stamp of Roman but the name. Seems it, my sons, a manly thing to own, that when the Roman name towers far and wide, within the land of Spain yourselves alone should humble it and level down its pride. What feebleness is this so strangely grown? What feebleness, if I may now decide? It is a feebleness loose living breeds, the mortal enemy of manly deeds. Soft Venus near with savage Mars did start, a paction firm and stable at the core. She follows pleasures, he pursues the art that leads to hardships and to fields of gore. So let the Cyprian goddess now depart, and let her son frequent this camp no more. For he whose life in revelling is spent is badly lodged within a martial tent. Think ye the battering ram with iron head will of itself break down the battled wall, or crowds of armed men and armour dread suffice alone the foeman to appall, if dauntless strength be not with prudence wed, which plans with wisdom and provides for all? But little fruit will mighty squadrons yield, or heaps of warlike stores upon the field. Let but the smallest army join as one, in bonds of martial law as strict as pure, then will ye see it radiant as the sun, march where it will to victory secure. But let an army manly courses shun, were it a world itself in miniature, soon will its mighty bulk be seen to reel before the iron hand and breast of steel. Ye well may be ashamed, ye men of might, to see how these few Spaniards sore distressed, with haughty spirit and to our despite, defend with vigour their Numantian nest. Full 16 years 4 and more have taken flight, and still they struggle on and well may jest at having conquered with ferocious hands, and kept at bay our countless Roman bands. Self-conquered are ye, for beneath the sway of base lascivious vice ye lose renown, and while with love and wine ye sport and play, ye scarce have strength to take your armour down. Blush then with all your might as well ye may, to see how this poor little Spanish town bids bold defiance to the Roman host, and smites the hardest when beleaguered most. At every hazard let our camp be freed, and cleanly purged of that vile harlot race, which are the root and cause in very deed why ye have sunk into this foul disgrace. One drinking cup no more is all ye need, and let your lecherous couches now give place to those wherein of yore ye slept so sound, the homely brushwood strewn upon the ground. Why should a soldier reek of odours sweet, when scent of pitch and resin is the best? Or why have kitchen things to cook his meat, to give with all his squeamish stomach zest? The warrior who descends to such a treat will hardly bear his buckler on the breast. For me all sweets and dainties I disdain, while in Numantia lives one son of Spain. Let not my men this stern and just decree of mine appear to you as harshly meant, for in the end its profit you will see, when ye have followed it with good intent. 'Tis passing hard to do, I well agree, to give your habits now another bent. But if ye change them not, then look for war, more terrible than this affront by far. From downy couches and from wine and play, laborious Mars is ever wont to fly. He seeks some other tools, some other way, some other arms to raise his standard high. Not luck nor hazard here have any sway, each man is master of his destiny. 'Tis sloth alone that evil fortune breeds, but patient toil to rule an empire leads. Though this I say, so sure am I withal, that now at last ye'll act as Romans do, that I do hold as not the armed wall of these rude Spaniards, a rebellious crew. By this right hand I swear before you all, that if your hands be to your spirits true, then mine with recompense will open wide, and this my tongue shall tell your deeds with pride. The soldiers glance at one another, and make signs to one of them, Caius Marius, who replies for all and thus says, Caius Marius, if thou hast marked and with attentive eye, illustrious commander of this force, the upturned faces of the standers be, while listening to thy brief and grave discourse. From some must thou have seen the colour fly, in others deepen stung with quick remorse, plain proof that fear and shame have both combined to trouble and perplex each soldier's mind. Shamido behold the abject low estate, on which with self-abasement they must look, without one plea defensive to abate the wholesome rigour of thy stern rebuke. Fear at the dire results of crimes so great, and that vile sloth whose sight they cannot brook, affects them so that they would rather die than wallow longer in its misery. But place and time remaineth to them still, to make some slight atonement for this wrong, and this is reason why such flagrant ill doth twine around them with a bond less strong. So from today with prompt and ready will, the very meanest of our warlike throng will place without reserve as is most meet their goods and life and honour at thy feet. Receive with right goodwill, O master mine, this fitting gift their better minds supply, and think them Romans of the ancient line, in whom the manly spirit cannot die. My comrades, raise your right hands as a sign that ye approve this pledge, as well as Roman 110. Soldiers, what thou hast said for us we all declare, and swear to keep our promise. All, yes, we swear. Scipio, in such a pledge new confidence I find, this war with greater vigour to pursue, while glowing ardour burns in every mind, to change the old life and begin the new. Let not your promise whistle down the wind, but let your lances prove it to be true, for mine with truth and clearness shall be shown, to match the worth and value of your own. Soldier, 2 Numantines accredited are here, with solemn message Scipio to thee. Scipio, what keeps them back, why do they not appear? Soldier, they wait behind for thy permission free. Scipio, be they ambassadors their right is clear. Soldier, I judge them so. Scipio, then let them come to me. 'Tis always good the enemy to know whether a true heart or a false he show, for falsehood never cometh in such wise, enwrapped in truth that we may not descry some little cranny in the close disguise, through which to gaze upon the secret lie. To listen to the foe is always wise. We profit more than we can lose thereby. In things of war experience shows in sooth that what I say is well-established truth. Enter the Numantine ambassadors first and second. First ambassador, if good my lord thou grant us without fear to speak the message we have brought this day, where now we stand or to thy private ear, we shall deliver all we come to say. Scipio, speak freely, then I grant you audience here. First ambassador, with this permission in such courteous way, conceded to us by thy regal grace, I shall proceed to state our urgent case. Numantia, to whom my birth I owe, hath sent me noble general to thee, as to the bravest Roman Scipio, the night ear covered or the day can see, and begs of thee the friendly hand to show, in token that thou graciously agree to cease the struggle that hath raged so long, and caused to thee and her such cruel wrong. She says that from the Roman Senate's law and rule she never would have turned aside, had not some brutal consuls with their and ruthless hands done outrage to her pride, with fiercer statutes than the world e'er saw, with greedy lust extending far and wide, they placed upon our necks such grievous yoke, as might the meekest citizens provoke, throughout the time with such a lengthened bound, wherein both sides have made such cruel sport, no brave commander have we ever found, whose kindness or whose favour we could court. But now at length that fate hath brought it round, to guide our vessel to so good a port, we joyfully haul in our warlike sails, prepared for any treateth that avails. Nor think, my lord, that it is fear alone which makes us sue for peace at such an hour. By proofs unnumbered it is widely known that still Numantia wields an arm of power. It is thy worth and valour lure us on, and give assurance that our luck will tower far higher than our highest hopes extend, to have thee for our master and our friend. On such an errand have we come today. My lord, make answer as it pleaseth thee. Scipio, since but a late repentance ye display, your friendship is of small account to me. Give anew the sturdy right arm play, for what mine own is worth I fain would see, since in its might hath fortune deigned to place my added glory and your fell disgrace. To sue for peace will hardly recompense the shameless doings of so many years. Let war and rapine come, and in defence bring out anew your files of valiant spears. Second ambassador, take heed, my lord, for this false confidence brings in its train 1,000 cheats and fears, and this bold arrogance which thou dost show but nerves our arms to strike a harder blow. Our plea for peace on which thou now hast frowned, although we urged it with the best intent, will make our righteous cause be wide renowned, and heaven itself will give its blessed assent. Mark ere thou treadest on Numantian ground, oft wilt thou prove, and to thy heart's content, what bolts of wrath the insulted foe can send, who wished to be thy vassal and good friend. Scipio, hast thou aught more to say? First ambassador, no, we have more to do, since thou, my lord, will have it so. Thou hast refused the just peace we implore, and hast belied thy better self, I know. Soon wilt thou see the power we have in store, when thou hast showed us all thou hast to show. For prating peace away is easier far than breaking through the serried ranks of war. Scipio, thou speakest truth, and now to make it plain, that I can treat in peace in war command, your proffered friendship I do now disdain. I here remain the sworn foe of your land, and so with this ye may return again. Second ambassador, mean'st thou, my lord, on this resolve to stand? Scipio, yes, I do mean it. Second ambassador, then to arms I say, and no Numantian voice will answer nay. Exeunt the ambassadors, and Quintus Fabius, brother of Scipio, says, Quintus Fabius, methinks our indolence which now is past hath made you bold within our midst to brawl, but now the wished for time hath come at last, when ye will see our glory and your fall. Scipio, vain boasting Fabius is beneath the cast of valiant men with honour at their call. So calm thy threats to good persuasion yield, and keep thy courage for the battlefield. Though sooth I do not mean that this proud foe should meet us hand to hand in very deed. Some other way to conquest will I go, which promises to bring me better speed. I mean to curb their pride, their wits o'erthrow, and on itself to let their fury feed. For with a deep wide ditch ill gird them round, and hunger fierce will bear them to the ground. No longer shall this soil be coloured red with Roman blood sufficient for the state, is what these Spaniards have already shed in this long brutal war and obstinate. Now bear your arms for other work instead, this hard-bound earth to break and excavate. They serve us better foul with dust and mud than when bedabbled with the foeman's blood. Let no one in the ranks this duty shun, but join in strife his neighbour to surpass. Let officer and private work as one, without distinction or respect of class. Myself will seize the spade, and when begun, will break the ground as deftly as the mass. Do all as I, and let what will befall this scheme of mine will satisfy you all. Quintus Fabius, O valiant sir, my brother and my lord, in this we recognize thy prudent care, for it were folly by the wise ignored. and rash display of valor past compare, to face in arms the fury and the sword of these wild rebels frantic with despair. To shut them in will yield us better fruit, and wither all their courage at the root. 'Tis easy to surround the city quite, save where the river shows an open line. Scipio, now let us go and straightway bring to light this little used and novel plan of mine, then to the Roman Senate in its might. If heaven's smiles but on our project shine, will complete Spain be subject far and wide, by simple conquest of this people's pride. Scene Roman 2 enters a damsel crowned, with a mural crown bearing heraldic castles in her hand, signifying Spain, and says, Spain, thou heaven the lofty, vast, serenely grand, who with thy fructifying powers hast crowned with wealth the chiefest part of this my land, and made it great above the realms around. Let my sad dole excite thy pity bland, and since thou giv'st the wretched calm profound, to me be gracious in my throes of pain. For I am she, the lonely luckless Spain. Let it suffice thee that beneath thy care my powerful limbs in fiercest fires were tossed, and through my heart thou to the sun laidst bare the dark benighted kingdom of the lost. My wealth midst thousand tyrants thou didst share, Phoenicians, Greeks as well in countless host, did part my realms, for thou didst will it so, or else my wickedness deserved the blow. Is't possible that I should always be of nations strange the meek and lowly slave, nor ever have one glimpse of liberty, nor ever see my native banners wave? And yet perchance it is a just decree that I should sink beneath a fate so grave, since my most valiant men and sons of fame are foes at heart and brothers but in name. For public ends they never will unite, these brilliant spirits a divided host. Nay, rather will they stand apart or fight, when strength and unity are needed most, and thus by fatal discords they invite the wild barbarian hosts at fearful cost, who sack their treasures with a greedy glee, and shower their cruelties on them and me. It is Numantia, and only she, who with her blood her life will dearly sell, who with her sword unsheathed and flashing free defends the liberty she loves so well. But now her race is over, woe is me. The hour, the fated hour, is on the when she must part with life but not with fame, like Phoenix rising fresh from out the flame. Those Romans there, a countless timid band, who in 1,000 ways their conquest seek, decline to measure swords and hand to hand with these brave Numantines so few and weak. Oh, might their plans be buried in the sand, and all their fancies turned to crazy freak, and this Numantia, this little spot, regain once more its free and happy lot. But now, alas, the foe hath girt it round, not with confronting arms foreboding ill to its weak walls, but with a wit profound, and ready hands hath laboured with such skill, that with a trench defillowed in the ground, the town is circled over plain and hill, and only on the side where runs the river is there defence against this strange endeavour. So these poor Numantines are close confined, and rooted to the spot as if by charms. No man can leave, no man may entrance find. They have no fear of stormings or alarms, but as they gaze around before behind, and see no labour for their powerful arms, with fearful accents and ferocious breath, they cry aloud for war or else for death. And since the side the spacious Douro scours, laving the city in its onward way, is that alone which in their evil hours may lend the prisoned Numantines some stay, before their grand machines or massive towers be founded in its stream. I fain would pray the bounteous river radiant with renown to aid and succour my beleaguered town. Thou gentle Douro 5, whose meandering stream doth lave my breast and give it life untold, as thou wouldst see thy rolling waters gleam like pleasant Tagus bright with sands of gold, as thou wouldst have the nymphs a merry team light-footed bound from meads and groves of old, to pay their homage to thy waters clear, and lend thee bounteously their favours dear. Then lend, I pray, to these my piteous cries attentive ear, and come to ease my woes. Let nothing hinder thee in any wise, although thou leav'st a while thy sweet repose, for thou and all thy waters must arise, to give me vengeance on these Roman foes. Else all is over, 'tis a hopeless case, to save from ruin this Numantian race. Enter the river Douro with several boys attired as rivers like himself, these being the tributary streams which flow into the Douro. Douro, O Spain, my mother dear, thy piercing cries have struck upon mine ears for many an hour, and if I did not haste me to arise, it was that succour lay beyond my power. That fatal day, that day of miseries, which seals Numantia's doom, begins to lower. The stars have willed it so, and well I fear no means remain to change a fate so drear. Minusa terra Orvian as well, whose floods increase the volume of mine own, have caused my bosom so to rise and swell, that all its ancient banks are overflown. But my swift current will not break their spell, as if I were a brook their pride has grown, to do what thou, O Spain, didst never dream, to plant their dams and towers athwart my stream. But since the course of stern relentless fate brings round the final fall without avail of this thy well-beloved Numantian state, and closes up its sad and wondrous tale, one comfort still its sorrows may abate, that never shall oblivion's sombre veil obscure the bright sun of its splendid deeds, admired by all while age to age succeeds. But though this day the cruel Romans wave their banners o'er thy wide and fertile land, here beat thee down, there treat thee as a slave, with pride ambitious and a haughty hand, the time will come, if I the knowledge grave, which heaven to Proteus taught, do understand, when these said Romans shall receive their fall from those whom presently they hold in thrall. I see them come, the peoples from afar, who on thy gentle breast will seek to dwell, when to thy heart's content they have made war against the Romans and have curbed them well. Goths shall they be who bright with glory's star, leaving their fame through all the world to swell, will in thy bosom seek repose from strife, and give their sturdy powers a higher life. In coming years will Attila, that man of wrath, avenge thy wrongs with bloody hands, will place the hordes of Rome beneath the ban, and make them subject to his stern commands, and forcing way into the Vatican VI, thy gallant sons with sons of other lands, will cause the pilot of the sacred bark take speedy flight and steer into the dark. The time will also come when one may stand and see the Spaniard brandishing his knife above the Roman neck and stay his hand, at bidding of his chief, from taking life. The great Albano VII, he who gives command to draw the Spanish army from the strife, in numbers weak and yet in courage strong, a match in valour for a mightier throng. And when the rightful Lord of heaven and earths is recognized as such on every hand, he who shall then be stablished and set forth as God's viceregent over every land, will on thy kings bestow a style of worth, as fitting to their zeal as it is grand. They all shall bear of Catholic the name, in true succession to the Goths of fame. But he whose hand of vigour best shall bind in one thine honour and thy realm's content, and make the Spanish name too long confined, hold place supreme by general assent. A king shall be whose sound and thoughtful mind on grand affairs is well and wisely bent. His name through all the world he rules shall run, the second Philip VIII second yet to none. Beneath his fortunate imperial hand, 3 kingdoms once divided under stress, again beneath one single crown shall stand, for common welfare and thy happiness. The Lusitanian banner famed and grand, which once was severed from the flowing dress of fair Castile, will now be knit anew, and in its ancient place have honour due. What fear and envy, O beloved Spain, shall bear to thee the nations strange and brave, whose blood shall serve thy flashing sword to stain, o'er whom thy banners shall triumphant wave. Let hopes like these assuage the bitter pain, which wrings thy heart in this sad hour and grave. For what the cruel fates have willed must be, Numantia must abide the stern decree. Spain, thy words, O famous Douro, have in part relieved the poignant anguish of my wrong. There is no guile in thy prophetic heart, and so my confidence in thee is strong. Douro, O Spain, thou mayst believe what I impart, although these happy days may tarry long. My nymphs await me now, and so farewell. Spain, may heaven thy limpid waters bless and swell. Act Roman 2, Scene Roman 1. Interlocutors: Theagenes and Corabino, with 4 other Numantines, governors of Numantia, Marquino, a wizard, and a corpse which will appear in due time. They are seated in council, and the 4 nameless Numantines are distinguished by 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Theagenes: Ye valiant men, it seems to me this day, that every adverse fate and direful sign conspire to crush us with their baleful sway, and cause our force and fury to decline. The Romans shut us in, do what we may, with cruel craft our strength to undermine. No vengeance comes to us by death in fight, nor save with wings can we escape by flight. Not these alone would crush us to the ground, who oft have suffered at our hands defeat, for Spaniards too with them in paction bound, would cut our throats with treachery complete. May heaven such knavish villainy confound, may lightning flashes wound their nimble feet, who rush to give their friends a deadly blow, and lend their succour to our wily foe. See if ye cannot now devise some plan, to mend our fortunes and our city save, for this laborious siege of lengthened span prepares for us a sure and certain grave. Across that fearful ditch no single man may seek the fortune that awaits the brave, though valiant arms at times in close array will sweep 1,000 obstacles away. Corabino, I would that mighty Jove in sovereign grace might grant our gallant youth this very day to meet the Roman army face to face, where their arms might have the freest play. Not death itself in such a happy case would keep their Spanish fortitude at bay. They'd hew a pathway, beat the foemen down, and succour bring to our Numantian town. But since we find ourselves in this sad state, like women harboured and by force confined, then let us do our utmost in the strait, and show a daring and determined mind. Let us invite our foes to test their fate. By single combat haply we shall find that, worn out by this siege and lengthened fray, they fain would end it in this simple way. But if this remedy should not succeed, and this our just demand should baffled be, one other plan may bring us better speed, though more laborious as it seems to me. That ditch and battled trench which now impede our passage to the foeman's camp ye see, by sudden night assault let us break through, and march for succour to good friends and true. First Numantine, be it by ditch or death we must tease plain, free passage force if we would still survive, for death is most insufferable pain, if it should come when life is most alive. Death is the certain cure for woes that drain the strength of life, and on it grow and thrive. For death with honour is supremest bliss, no fate can be more excellent than this. Second Numantine, can higher honour crown our latest years? If so our souls must from our bodies part, then thus to rush upon the Roman spears, and dying strike our foemen at the heart. Let him who will display the coward's fears, and stay within the city all apart. For me at least my life I'd rather yield, within the ditch or on the open field. Third Numantine, this cruel hunger fearsome and malign, which tracks our path and goads us bitterly, constrains me to consent to your design. However rash and harebrained it may be, by death in fight this insult we decline. Who would not die of hunger, come with me, to force the trenches and with one accord, cut out a path to safety with the sword. 4th Numantia. It seemeth good to me before we dare the desperate act which promises relief, that we should summon from the rampart there our haughty foe and ask of him in brief, that he will grant an open field and fair to one Numantian and one Roman chief, and that the death of either in the fight shall end our quarrel and decide the right. These Romans are a people of such pride that they will sanction what we now propose, and if by this our challenge they abide, then sure am I our griefs will have a close. For here sits Corabino at our side, upon whose mighty valour I repose, that he alone in open fight with will from the Romans snatch the victory. 'Tis also fitting that Marquino here, whose fame as sage diviner is so great, should note what sign or planet in the sphere forebodeth death to us or glorious fate, and find some means perchance to make it clear, if we shall issue from our present strait, when once this doubtful cruel siege has passed, the victors or the vanquished at the last, be it as well our first and chief concern, to make to Jove a solemn sacrifice. It well may be that thereby we shall earn a boon still higher than the proffered price, if by such aid supernal we shall learn to staunch the wounds of our deep-rooted vice. Then haply may our rugged fates relent, and change to brighter fortune and content. There never lacketh opportunity to die. The desperate may have it when inclined. The fitting time and place are always nigh, to show in dying the determined mind. But lest the passing hours in vain should fly, say if ye now approve what I've designed, and if ye do not then devise some plan, will better suit and pleasure every man. Marquino, there is good reason in thy sage advice. Its weighty counsel is approved by me. Prepare the offering and the sacrifice, and let the challenge quick delivered be. As for myself, ill hasten in a trice, to show my science in supreme degree. For one ill drag from out the heart of hell, our future be it good or bad to tell. Theogenes, I herewith offer me, if so indeed ye can but trust my valour and my might, to sally forth if it be so decreed, and be your champion in the single fight. Corabino, thy valour rare deserves a better meed. We well may trust it is thy patent right. Affairs by far more difficult and grave, to him who is the bravest of the brave. And since the chiefest place is at thy call, due to thy worth by general assent, I who esteem myself the least of all, will act as herald of this tournament. 1st Numantia. Then I with all the people great and small, will do what gives to Jove the most content, for prayers and sacrifice have mighty sway, when purged and contrite hearts prepare the way. 2nd Numantia. Now let us go with ready wills and free, to do as we have sworn what here befall, before pale hunger's gnawing misery hath brought us to the last extreme of all. 3rd Numantia. If heaven already hath pronounced decree that we are doomed in dire distress to fall, may heaven revoke it now and aid us soon, if our contrition meriteth the boon. Scene Roman 2 enter, first 2 Numantine soldiers, Morandro and Leoncio. Leoncio, where Morandro dost thou go? What strange errand hast thou got? Morandro, if myself do know it not, just as little wilt thou know. Leoncio, would that amorous whim of thine I could pluck from out thy pate. Morandro, nay, my reason hath more weight, since I felt this flame of mine. Leoncio, 'tis a fact undoubted lore, that the love-devoted swain hath by reason of his pain weightier reason than before. Morandro, what thou speakest thus to me, is it wit or malice, friend? Liencio, thou my wit mayst apprehend, I thy pure simplicity. Morandro, am I simple loving well? Liencio, yes, if love will not allow. For the whom and when and how, ask thy reason, it will tell. Morandro, who can bounds assign to love? Liencio, reason's self will show them thee. Morandro, reasonable will they be, but of slender value prove. Liencio, what of reason is their prey in the amorous endeavour? Morandro, love gainst reason goeth never, though it go some other way. Liencio, is it not beyond all reason, gallant soldier as thou art, thus to show a lover's heart, in this sad and straitened season, at a time when thou art bound, round the guard of war to rally? Is it meet with love to dally, scattering thousand sweets around? See thy country in a stir, enemies before behind, and wilt thou with troubled mind turn to love and not to her? Morandro, thus to hear thee idly speak makes my blood with fury dance. When did love by any chance make the manly bosom weak? Do I leave my post to fly to my lady's side instead, or lie sleeping on my bed when my captain watches by? Hast thou seen me fail to move at the urgent call of duty, lured away by wanton beauty, or still less by honest love? If with truth thou canst not tell any point wherein I fail, wherefore thus against me rail, just because I love so well? If I shun the circles bright, brooding o'er my sad condition, put thyself in my position, thou wilt see that I have right. Know'st thou not how many years I was mad for Lyra's sake, till at length the clouds did break, scattering all my doubts and fears, for her father gave consent that we twain should wedded be, and my Lyra's love for me, mine for her gave full content. But alas, thou art aware how this brutal cruel war came our happiness to mar, sunk my glory to despair, for our marriage may not be till the din of war hath ceased. 'Tis no time to wed and feast till this land of ours be free. Think what slender hope is here that my bliss will ever be, when our chance of victory rests upon the foeman's spear. Here we are with ruin near us, fosse and trench around us lying, all our men with hunger dying, and no thought of war to cheer us. Is it strange that when I know all my hopes are but as wind, I should go with saddened mind, just as now thou seest me go? Liencio, O Morandro, calm thy breast, let me see thine ancient glance, for by hidden ways perchance help will reach Usan the best. Sovereign Jove will doubtless show to our brave Numantian folk how to burst this Roman yoke by some sharp and sudden blow. Then in calm and sweet repose wilt thou seek thy wedded wife, and in love's endearing strife soon forget thy present woes. For this day by sage advice will Numantia all astir, unto Jove the Thunderer make a solemn sacrifice. See what crowds of people high, with the victim and the fire. Mighty Jove, all-powerful sire, look upon our misery. There enter two Numantines clad as ancient priests, leading in between them, fastened by the horns, a big lamb crowned with olive or ivy, and other flowers, also a page with a silver salver, and a towel on his shoulder, another with a silver goblet, filled with water another with one, filled with wine another with a silver dish and a little incense another with fire, and wood another, who arranges a table with a coverlet, on which all the aforesaid articles are placed. There enter on the scene all those who have already appeared in the comedy in the dress of Numantines, the priests coming after, and one of them letting go the lamb thus says, First priest, most certain signs foreboding woes unchecked have shown their evil forms across my way, and my hoar hairs are standing all erect. Second priest, if my divinings lead me not astray, no good will issue from this enterprise. Alas, Numantia, our luckless day. First priest, let us, despite these mournful auguries, perform our office with becoming speed. Second priest, bring hither, friends, this table, and likewise the incense, wine, and water which we need. Arrange thereon, now stand ye all apart. Repent ye of your every evil deed. The first and best oblation on your part is that which heaven regards with chiefest grace, a chastened spirit and a guileless heart. First priest, the fire upon the ground ye must not place. There comes a brazier to receive it now, for so our rights demand in such a case. Second priest, make clean your hands and necks and keep your vow. First priest, bring water, here is not the fire alight. 1. No man can kindle it, my lords, I trow. Second priest, O Jove, will adverse fate to our despite pursue us thus to ruin in its ire? What keeps the kindlewood from taking light? 1. It seems, my lord, there is some little fire. First priest, away with thee, thou lurid flame, and spare. The sight of thee makes every hope expire. Mark how the thickening smoke is curling there, and to the western side directs its flight, while that pale flame which quivers in the air darts to the east its points of yellow light, a luckless sign which hastens to proclaim that total loss and ruin are in sight. Second priest, although our death may give the Romans fame, their victory methinks to smoke will turn, our death and glory change to vivid flame. First priest, since it is fitting, bring the hallowed urn, and quick bedew the sacred fire with wine. The incense also it behoves to burn. They besprinkle the fire and its adjuncts with wine, and then place incense on the fire. Second priest, great Jupiter, direct thy force benign for good to sad Numantia in her woe, and turn to naught the stern opposing sign. First priest, as burns the sacred incense in the glow, forced into smoke by virtue of the fire, so exercise thy virtue on the foe, that all his wealth and glory powerful may pass away in clouds of murky air, as thou canst do it and as I desire. Second priest, may heaven restrain the foe with arm laid bare, as now we hold this victim firmly bound, and may he share the fate she hath to share. First priest, ill bodes the augury, no hope is found that our beleaguered town will ere be free to burst the tightening bonds that gird her round. Under the stage they make a noise with a barrel full of stones, and discharge a rocket. Second priest, didst thou not hear a noise, my friend, or see that flaming bolt which passed with angry flight in speedy answer to thy prophecy? First priest, I stand appalled, I quake with very fright. What fearful signs are hovering in the sky, foreboding bitter end, disastrous fight? Cease not that troop of eagles fierce on high, who fight these birds with cruel beak and bill, and round their quivering prey in circles fly. Second priest, they use alone their strength and cruel will to drive these birds into some narrow spot, then close them in with wily art and skill. First priest, that omen I denounce, I like it not. Imperial eagles conquering as they go, Numantia false it is her certain lot. Second priest, eagles the heralds of stupendous woe, thine augury is true, it fits the case. Our hours are numbered, it is time to go. First priest. Not yet, the sacrifice must now take place of this pure victim destined to appease the deity who shows the fearful face. O mighty Pluto, thou whom fate did please to grant a dwelling in the realms obscure, and rule the infernal hosts with thy decrees, as thou wouldst live in peace and rest secure, that she of sacred Ceres' daughter fair will greet thy love with an affection pure. Then listen to this wretched people's prayer, do all that lies within thy proper sphere, and make their welfare thy peculiar care. Seal up that horrid cave profound and drear, whence sally forth the direful sisters three, to do the damage we have cause to fear, for much they revel in our misery. He takes some flocks of hair from the lamb, and throws them into the air. So may the wind make all their projects vain. And as I now proceed to lave and stain this shining knife with that pure victim's gore, with guileless spirit and a purpose plain, so may Numantia's soil be sprinkled o'er with Roman blood, and may its reddened sands serve also for their grave as oft before. Here enters from under the stage a demon from the middle of his body upwards, who seizes the lamb, and carries it behind. He presently returns again, and scatters and disperses the fire and all the sacrifices. But who hath snatched the victim from my hands? Ye holy gods, what means this fearful thing? What prodigies are raging in these lands? Can nothing move your hearts or pity bring? Not the sad wailings of our wretched folk, or sweetness of the holy songs we sing. Second priest. These rather seem their anger to provoke. Else why these fearful signs of coming wrath, that press us downward like a hateful yoke? Our schemes of life are but a passing breath. Our hardest labor ends in quick decay. The good of others hastens but our death. One of the people. Enough, since heaven hath now decreed this day. Our bitter end its misery profound. Why need we more for pity's sake to pray? Another. Then let us wail with such a doleful sound our woeful lot, that coming ages may rehearse our hopeless valor round and round. And let Marquino make a full display of all his lore, and tell the sum of fears and horrors springing from this fateful day, which now hath turned our laughter into tears. Exeunt omnes save Morandro and Leoncio, who remain alone. Morandro, what, Leoncio, dost thou say? Shall my sorrows have their cure 'neath these signs so good and sure, which the heavens now display? Shall I better fortune have when the din of war is o'er? That will happen not before, when this ground becomes my grave. Leoncio, to the gallant soldier friend, auguries can give no pain. Sturdy heart and steady brain bring him fortune in the end. Passing phantoms vain and dim cannot shake or do him harm. Courage high and manly arm are the star and sign for him. But if thou wouldst still believe such a palpable delusion, we shall have them in profusion, if my sight doth not deceive. For Marquino now will show all the best his lore can borrow, and the end of all our sorrow, good or bad, we soon will know. Seems to me he comes this way. In what strange attire he sallies, Morandro, who with ugly beings dallies, well may ugly be as they. Shall we follow him or fly? Leoncio, better far to follow now, for if fitting cause allow, we may serve him by and by. Here enters Marquino clad with a black robe of wide glazed buckram, and black flowing hair, his feet unshod, and at his girdle he must carry, so as to be seen, 3 phials full of water, one black, another tinged with saffron, the last clear. In the one hand a lance black lacquered, and in the other a book. Milvio accompanies him, and as they advance Leoncio and Morandro stand at one side. Marquino, where say'st thou, Milvio, lies the luckless youth? Milvio, Within this sepulchre interred he lies. My queen, earth, thou know'st the spot, thou dost not err in sooth. Milvio, know for this stone that stands before mine eyes, I left to mark the place where now doth dwell the lad we sepulchred with tears and sighs. My queen, earth, what died he of? Milvio, of living not too well, for withering wasting hunger laid him low, that cruel plague the progeny of hell. My queen, earth, it was no wound so far as thou dost know, that pierced his heart and cut the vital thread, no cancer, nay, nor homicidal blow. I ask thee this for to my science dread, it matters that this body be complete, entire in all its parts from foot to head. Milvio, 3 hours ago I paid him as was meet the last respects and bore him to his tomb. He died of hunger, this I now repeat. My queen, earth, 'tis well the fitting season is in bloom, announced before by each propitious sign, to summon from the nether realms of gloom the fallen spirits fearsome and malign. Now to my verses give attentive ear, fierce Pluto, thou whom fate hath called to reign within the wide domain of darkness drear, amongst the ministers of souls in pain. Cause that my wishes be respected here, however much they go against the grain. And in this dire extreme delay not long, nor wait a second summons from my tongue. I wish that to the corpse interred by us, the soul that gave it life thou shouldst restore, though Charon yonder fierce and rigorous should hold it fast upon the blackened shore, though in the triple throat of Cerberus the grim it lies ensconced in anguish sore. Forth let it come to seek our world of light, then quick return unto thy realms of night. Since come it must, let it instructed come, anent the issue of this bloody fray. In no point let the wretched soul be dumb, nor aught conceal but in the plainest way, without ambiguous phrase rehearse the sum, lest doubt and dim confusion win the day. Now send it forth, why keep me waiting here? Or must I make my meaning still more clear? Ye faithless ones, why turn ye not the stone? Tell me, false ministers, what keeps ye back? How have ye not sufficient portents shown, that ye will aid me in the thing I lack? Say, have ye mischievous designs alone? Or wish ye I should put upon the track, this very moment, my enchanting arts, to soften down your fierce and stony hearts? Well then, ye rabble vile with falsehood rife, prepare yourselves for words of harder grain. Know that my voice hath power upon your life, to give you double fury, double pain. Tell me, thou traitor husband of the wife, who 6 months yearly to her sweetest gain remains without thee cuckold as thou art, why art thou dumb when I speak out my heart? This iron point bedewed with water clear, which never touched the ground in month of May, will strike this stone and straightway will appear the strength and potency of my assay. With water of the clear phial he bathes the point of the lance, and then strikes the board below. Rockets are fired off, or a noise is made with the beryl of stones. Ye rabble, now it seems that ye have fear, and show by stunning proofs your fell dismay. What sounds are these, ye people vile and coarse? Ye come at last, although ye come by force. Lift up this stone, ye curs, whate'er betide, and show the body that lies buried here. What means this sluggishness, where do ye hide? Why at my mandate do ye not appear? Ye infidels, ye put my threats aside, because ye think ye have no more to fear. But this black water of the Stygian lake will give your tardiness a speedy shake. Thou water drawn upon a dismal night, of darkness dread from out the fatal lake, by that dread power which doth with thee unite, before which any other power must quake, give forth thy diabolic strength aright, and him who first the serpent's form did take, I conjure, I constrain, beseech, command, to come with speedy wings at my demand. He sprinkles the sepulchre with water, and it opens. Come forth, thou ill-starred youth, stay not behind. Return to see the sun serene and blessed, forsake that realm where thou shalt never find one single happy day of cloudless rest. And since thou canst unbosom now thy mind of all that thou hast seen in its dark breast, I mean regarding that which I demand, and more if it concerns the case in hand. The body comes forth in its shroud, with masked face discoloured like a dead man's, and walks dragging itself by little and little, and at length falls flat on the stage, without moving foot or hand till its time comes. What dost not answer dost not live again, or haply hast thou tasted death once more, then will I quicken thee anew with pain, and for thy good the gift of speech restore. Since thou art one of us, do not disdain to speak and answer as I now implore. If thou be dumb, then ill use measures strong to loosen thy most timid, worthless tongue. He sprinkles the body with the yellow water, and whips it with a thong. Ye spirits vile, it worketh not, ye trust, but wait, for soon the enchanted water here will show my will to be as strong and just as yours is treacherous and insincere. And though this flesh were turned to very dust, yet being quickened by this lash austere, which cuts with cruel rigour like a knife, it will regain a new though fleeting life. At this point the body moves and shudders. Thou rebel soul, seek now the home again thou leftest empty these few hours ago. The body nines. Restrain the fury of thy reckless pain. Suffice it, O Marquino, man of woe, what I do suffer in the realms obscure, nor give me pangs more fearful to endure. Thou errest if thou thinkest that I crave for greater pleasure and for less dismay this painful, pinched and narrow life I have, which even now is ebbing fast away. Nay, rather dost thou cause me duller grave, since death a second time with bitter sway will triumph over me in life and so, and gain a double palm beyond control. For he and others of the dismal band, who do thy bidding subject to thy spell, are raging round and waiting stand, till I shall finish what I have to tell, the woeful end most terrible and grand, of our Numantia, since I know it well, for she shall fall, and by the hands austere of those who are to her most near and dear, the Romans near shall victory obtain. O'er proud Numantia still less shall she a glorious triumph o'er her foemen gain. Twixt friends and foes both brave to a degree, think not that settled peace shall ever reign, where rage meets rage in strife eternally. The friendly hand with homicidal knife will slay Numantia and will give her life. He hurls himself into the sepulchre and says, I say no more, Marquino, time is fleet. The fates will grant to me no more delay. And though my words may seem to thee deceit, thou'lt find at last the truth of what I say. Marquino, O fearful signs, O misery complete, if such events, my friend, are on the way, before I gaze on this my people's doom, ill end my wretched being in this tomb. Marquino hurls himself into the sepulchre. Morandro, say, Leoncio, am I right? Are not my forebodings true, that my hopes and pleasures too change into the opposite? Who can fate and fortune brave? Shut and barred is every way, save and let Marquino say, certain death and speedy grave. Leoncio, what are all these strange illusions, terrors grim and fantasies? What are signs and witcheries, diabolical delusions? Thinkest thou such things have worth? Slender knowledge dost thou show, little care the dead below, for the living here on earth's Milvio. Such a monstrous sacrifice never had Marquino made, could our fate have been delayed, which he saw with prophet's eyes. Let us tell this tale of woe to the town whose end is near, but on such an errand drear, who will stir one step to go? Exeunt. End of Act Roman 255. Act Roman 3, Scene Roman 1. Enter Scipio, Quintus Fabius, and Caius Marius. Afterwards Corabino. Scipio. In very sooth I am content to view how fortune's wishes tally with mine own. For this free haughty nation I subdue, without a struggle by my wits alone. The occasion comes I seize it as my due, for when it flits and runs and once hath flown, full well I know in war we pay the cost. Our credit vanishes and life is lost. It may be judged a foolish monstrous thing to hold our enemies beleaguered there. That shame on Roman chivalry we bring, by using arts of conquest strange and rare. If such be said, then to this hope I cling, that shrewd and practised soldiers will declare that victory to be of most repute, which yields with least of blood the most of fruit. What glory more exalted can we know, within the range of war affairs I mean, than thus to conquer and subdue the foe, nor let our naked weapons once be seen. For when the blood of friends is forced to flow, to gain a triumph when the fight is keen, I wot the pleasure is not half so high as that which springs from bloodless victory. Here a trumpet sounds from the wall of Numantia. Quintus Fabius. Listen, my lord, there comes a trumpet's blast from out Numantia's town, and sure am I they mean to speak to thee from thence at last, for this strong wall impedes their coming nigh. See, Corabino to the tower hath passed, and waves a peaceful banneret on high. Let us advance a space. Scipio. Well be it so. Caius Marius. This spot is good, we need no further go. Corabino stands on the battlement, having a white banner on the point of his lance. Corabino. Ye Romans, say from my position here, is't possible my voice your ears can reach? Caius Marius. Be pleased to lower it, speak slow and clear, and then right well understand your speech. Corabino. Entreat the general that he come near the entrance of the farce, I do beseech, that he will hear my message. Scipio. Tell it now, for I am Scipio. Corabino. Then listen thou. Numantia asks the prudent general to ponder well how many years have flown since war hath raged with its commanding thrall between thy Roman people and our own, and haply to prevent that worse befall, when once this warfare to a plague hath grown, she much desires, if thou shouldst deem it right, to end it with a short and single fight. One soldier of her own she offers thee, to combat in the lists in open fray, with one of yours as stout and brave as he, to show their prowess with a full display. And if the evil fates should so decree, that one shall perish in this glorious way, if it be ours we shall resign our land, if it be yours the war is at a stand. To make this solemn compact more secure, we offer thee of hostages the best. I know thou wilt consent, for thou art sure of all the soldiers under thy behest, and knowest that the least thou canst procure will cause to sweat in face and loins and breast Numantia's bravest, most determined son, and thus thy crowning triumph shall be won. Make answer now, my lord, if thou agree, and presently to work we shall proceed. Scipio. Your words are jest and mirth and mockery. None but a fool would think of such a deed. Employ the means of meek and humble plea, if ye are eager that your necks be freed, nor feel the rigour of the Roman knife, and from our powerful grip escape with life. If that brute beast shut up within its cave, for savage wildness and ferocious can there be tamed by dint of cunning sage, through lapse of time and means of crafty skill, the man who lets him free to vent his rage will show himself a madman wilder still. Wild beasts are ye, as such we hold ye fast, and right or wrong well tame ye at the last. In spite of you Numantia shall be mine, nor cost me at the worst a single man. So let the boldest minded of your line break through the ditch and trenches if he can, and if my valor shows some little sign of cowardice in working out this plan, let now the gusty wind bear off the shame, and when I conquer bear it back as fame. Exeunt Scipio and his men. Corabina, thou coward wilt here no more wilt hide thy shame. The just and equal combat dost thou fear. Thy conduct stamps contempt upon thy name. By no such means wilt thou sustain it here. Thine answer is so cowardly and tame. Ye Romans cowards are ye, it is clear. Your trust is only in your teeming host. Ye fear to raise the doughty arms ye boast. O cruel treacherous of little worth! Conspirators and tyrants are ye all. Ungrateful, grasping low in breed and birth. Ferocious, obstinate and rustical. Lascivious, base, renowned through all the earth. For toiling hands whose bravery is small. What glory hope ye from our death and doom? While thus ye hold us in a living tomb. Ye squadrons close or single files that scour the open field where neither ditch nor wall can offer hindrance to your rampant power, or check the fatal fierce assault at all. 'Twere well instead of turning tail this hour, and keeping these your useless blades in thrall, that your vast army boastful of its powers should grapple with this feeble band of ours. But as it is your long accustomed trade to conquer men with numbers and with guile, these compacts which for valiant men are made are ill-adapted to your crafty style. Ye timid hares in savage skins arrayed, go trumpet forth your deeds, for in a while I trust in mighty Jove to see you all beneath Numantia's sovereignty and thrall. He descends from the wall, and presently enter the Numantines who were present at the beginning of the second act, except Marquino, who threw himself into the sepulchre, and Morandro also enters. Theagenes, our fate, dear friends, hath brought us to such stress, our woes hang o'er us with such deepening gloom, that death would be supremest happiness. Ye saw prophetic of our coming doom, the sacrifice with all its omens dread. Ye saw Marquino swallowed in the tomb. Our bold defiance hath to nothing led. What more remains to do I cannot tell, except to speed our passage to the dead. This night let each Numantian bosom swell with ardour suited to our past renown, and let our actions match our purpose well. Let us with might the hostile wall break down, and on the field die fighting with the foe, and not like cowards in this straitened town. This deed will only serve full well, I know, to change the mode in which we have to die, for death will march with us where'er we go. Corabina, though in this thy bold resolve agreed am I fain would perish breaking down that wall, and single-handed breach it manfully. But one thing giveth me concern not small, for if our wives should hear of our design, then sure am I that nothing will befall. For once of old we had a purpose fine, to sally forth and leave our wives behind. We each were ready horsed and all in line, when they who thought our purpose most unkind, within an instant snatched our reins away, nor left a single one so close confined. We had perforce within the walls to stay. So will it happen, and with ease again, if so their tears their inmost thoughts betray. Morandro, our present plan to every one is plain. They all do know it, and in accents sad they pour their wailings forth with bitter pain, and cry that be our fortunes good or bad, they all will go with us in woe or weal, though of their company we be not glad. Here enter 4 or more women of Numantia, and Lyra with them. The women carry certain figures of children in their arms, and some lead them by the hand, with the exception of Lyra, who carries none. See how they come to make a fond appeal, that ye will leave them not in this sad case, and mean to soften down your hearts of steel. Within their arms they bear with tearful face your tender sons, and to the loving breast they press them close and give them last embrace. First wife, sweet lords of ours, if mid the woes increased, which shower their sorrows on Numantia's head, of which the mortal sufferings are the least, or in those better days which now are fled, we ever showed ourselves your spouses true, and ye our husbands kind and honoured, why at this mournful time when we may view the wrath of heaven poured out to our distress, are all your proofs of love so scant and few? We long have known what now your looks express, that on the Roman spears ye mean to bound, because their cruelty affects you less than that fell hunger plague which rages round, from out whose lean and clutching hands I say, no refuge nor escape can now be found. If so ye mean to die in open fray, and leave us here forsaken in these lands, to foul dishonour and to death a prey, then first within our bosoms sheathe your brands, for this were better far in every wise, than see us outraged in the foeman's hands. I am resolved so far as in me lies, and fixed in this resolve I mean to dwell, to die at last where my husband dies. The same plain tale each one of us will tell, that not the fear of death however great, will keep her from the man who loves her well, in good or bad, in sweet or bitter fate. Another, tell me, noble warriors, say, have ye still the thought unkind, thus to leave us all behind, and go forward to the fray? Will ye leave by any chance these Numantia's virgins pure, keener anguish to endure, from the Roman arrogance, and our sons in freedom born? Will ye leave them to be slaves, better far to find their graves in your arms than bear this scorn? Will ye sate the Roman greed, pander to the Roman lust, on our cherished rights and just, let their rank injustice feed? Shall our homes by villainy be despoiled of every treasure, and the Romans have the pleasure of the weddings yet to be? Much and sorely have ye erred, 1,000 ills will travel faster, if without a dog and master thus ye leave the helpless herd. But if such a course ye try, bear us with you to the strife, each will hold it as her life, by her husband's side to die. Short not the road, I pray, leading onward to the dead. Watchful hunger holds its thread, which it lessens every day. Another, sons of mothers sad in lot, what is this, where is your speech? Will ye not with tears beseech these your sires to leave you not? 'Tis enough that hunger fell, with its pain should bring ye low. Why await a rougher blow from the Roman's hand as well? Tell them they begot you free, and in freedom were ye born, and your mothers now forlorn brought ye up free men to be. Tell them with unbated breaths, all is over with the strife, and that they who gave you lives now are bound to give you deaths. Walls that form our city's lines, if ye can speak I entreat, and with 1,000 tongues repeat, liberty ye Numantines, by our homes and sacred fanes, reared in peace for happier lives. These your tender sons and wives plead for pity in their pains. Soften down, ye warriors bold, these hard breasts as well ye may, and like Numantines display hearts as loving as of old. Not by breaking down the walls will ye cure so great an ill. Fate as stern and nearer still lies within for one and all. Lyras, all the tender maids as well, place their urgent case before ye, and for pity's sake implore ye, all their rising fears to quell. Do not leave so rich a prey to the grasping hands ye see. Think what all these Romans be, hungry wolves and fierce are they. 'Tis an act most desperate, thus to sally from the town, speedy death and wide renown, that will be your certain fate. But suppose your chivalry turn out better in the main, is there any town in Spain ready now to welcome ye. My poor wit may waste its breath, but the issue of this strife will but give the foemen lives, and to all Numantia deaths. At your gallant deed and rare, think the Romans will but mark. Can 3,000 stand the shock of the 80,000 there? Though these walls be overpassed, battered down without a guard, still the issue will be hard. Sorry vengeance death at last. Better take the fate we have, which the will of heaven gives, be it safety for our lives, or a summons to the grave. Theagenes, assuage your grief and dry your tearful eyes. Ye tender wives, and let it now be known that we do feel your anguish in such wise, that love within our hearts hath overflown. Whether your pain to higher pitch shall rise, or else be lessened by our kindly tone, we ne'er shall leave you now in life or death, but serve you truly to our latest breath. We thought indeed to sally from the town, to meet with certain death but not to fly, though death it would not be but live renown, to deal out glorious vengeance as we die. But since our plan is subject to your frown, and it were folly other plans to try, O sons beloved, and ye our honoured wives, from this time forth we knit in one our lives. One thing alone is needful, that the foe shall reap from us no triumph and no fame, nay rather shall he serve in this our woe, as witness to immortalize our name. If now with me ye hand in hand will go, through 1,000 ages shall your glory flame, for nothing in Numantia shall remain, which these proud foes can garner to their gain. Make now a fire in middle of the square, whose tongues of flame shall to the heavens swell, and hurl therein our goods without a care, the poorest and the richest things as well. This will ye judge a simple light affair, when to your listening ears I have to tell what ye must do with honour to your names, when once your wealth is swallowed in the flames. Meanwhile to stay but for a single hour, the hunger which devours us as its prey, cause that these wretched Romans in our power be slain and quartered without more delay, and then distributed from hut to tower, to all both great and small this very day. So shall our banquet through the country ring, a cruel, strange, and necessary thing. My friends, what think ye, are ye all agreed? Corabina, for me I hold myself as well content, so let us put in action with due speed this strange and just design with one consent. Theagenes, when ye have done what I have now decreed, I shall disclose the rest of my intent. So let us forth to do what all desire, and kindle up the rich consuming fire. First wife, with right good will we shall begin this day, to gather up our jewels for the fire, and yield our lives to use them as ye may, as ye have yielded to our joint desire. Lyra, quick let us hasten all away, to burn our treasures and our rich attire, which might the Romans' hands make rich indeed, and fill to overflow their grasping greed. Exeunt omnes, and as Morandro departs he takes Lyra by the arm, and detains her. Morandro, Lyra, why so swiftly fly? Let me now enjoy the pleasure, which within my heart ill treasure, while I live and when I die. Let mine eyes with rapture rest on thy beauty for a space, since my fortune void of grace turns my passion into jest. Thou sweet Lyra art the dream, ever to my fancy given, with such music sweet of heaven, that my pains like rapture seem. Why so sad with thought o'ercast? Thou my heart's delight and treasure. Lyra, I am thinking how my pleasure and thine own are fading fast. Not the siege and not the strife give it homicidal blows, for before the war shall close, I shall end my hapless life. Morandro, what my love, what dost thou say? Lyra, that this hunger gnaws me so, dulls my strength and vital glow, and my life ebbs fast away. Canst thou bliss and marriage bed seek from one in such extreme? Much I fear it 'tis no dream. One short hour and I am dead. Yesterday my brother died, with the pangs of hunger worn, and my mother left forlorn, died of hunger by his side. If till now my health and life have not yielded to its rigor, 'tis because my youthful vigor kept the mastery in the strife. But these many days ago, all the weary strife is o'er. I have strength and power no more to contend with such a foe. Morandro, Lyra, dry thy saddened eyes, and let mine with tears of woe, like to mighty rivers flow, swollen by thy griefs and sighs. Though this hunger raging high grasp thee firm in deadly strife, while I have one spark of life, thou shalt not of hunger die. In an instant will I flee, leap the ditch and break the wall, and will death himself appall, till he loose his grasp of thee from the Roman's mouth alone. If my vigor hath not fled, I will snatch the very bread, and will place it in thine own, with my arm in deadly fight, from the jaws of death ill free thee, for it kills me more to see thee, lady dear, in such a plight. Bread to eat ill bring to thee, spite of all the Romans do. If my hands are strong and true, as of old they used to be. Lyra, thou dost speak like one distraught, but Morandro, 'tis not just that I taste a single crust, with thy fearful peril bought. Such a spoil, if gained by thee, would be little to my mind, and more truly wilt thou find loss to thee than gain to me. In its freshness and its bloom, still enjoy thy youth divine. Better is thy life than mine, to avert the city's doom. Better will thine arm and blade shield it in its evil hour, than the weak and puny power of a tender saddened maid. Wert thou able to prolong this my life a single day, hunger still would have its way, and the strife will not be long. Morandro, Lyra, all thy words are vain. Nothing now my way can bar. Steadfast will and lucky star, light my path and make it plain. Meanwhile pray the gods divine now to bless my hardy toil, bring me back with fitting spoil, to assuage thy griefs and mine. Lyra, O Morandro, sweet and good, do not go, I am afraid, for I see the foeman's blade stained and reddened with thy blood. O Morandro, dearest life, do not make this journey sad. If the going forth be bad, worse the issue from the strife. If thine ardour I restrain, I have witness there in heaven that my heart with fear is riven for my loss and not my gain. But dear friend, if it must be, if this venture must take place, take as pledge this fond embrace, that my spirit goes with thee. Morandro, heaven's sweet Lyra be thy guard. See, Leoncio comes to me. Lyra, mayst thou be from danger free, and thy hopes be thy reward. Leoncio has been listening to all that passed between his friend Morandro and Lyra. Leoncio, Morandro, 'tis a fearful sacrifice to make for her, and well dost thou declare that lover's breast hath naught of cowardice, though from thy manliness and valour rare, still more we hope to gain, yet much I fear that fate unkind will prove a miser there. To Lyra's tale I gave a listening ear, and know her dire extreme and dismal plight, so foreign to the worth we all revere. I heard thee pledge thine honour and thy might to free her from her present strait and brave. the cruel Roman spears in reckless fight. In such an urgent case, dear friend, I crave to be thy comrade, for it is my due, and aid thee with the little strength I have. Morandro, half of my heart, O friendship leal and true, unsevered in the hardships of the fray, or in the happiest days we ever knew. Enjoy sweet life, Leoncio, whilst thou may remain within the town, for I would spur by act of mine thy blooming youth to slay. Alone I have to go, alone return, beladen with the richest spoil and rare, which constant faith and fervent love can earn. Leoncio, if so, Morandro, thou art well aware how my desires in good or evil fate go hand in hand with thine in equal share. Then wilt thou feel no fears, however great, not death itself nor other power malign, can keep me from thy fortunes separate. With thee have I to go, with thee in fine return, unless the will of heaven ordain that I must lose my life in shielding thine. Morandro, remain my friend, for pity's sake remain, for should I finish now my hapless life in this emprise of peril and of pain, thou mayst at ending of the fatal strife console my weeping mother sore distressed, and her so much beloved me promised wife. Leoncio, it is, my friend, a very sorry jest to think that I, if haply thou be slain, would have such calm and quiet in my breast as to console in this their urgent pain thy grieving mother and thy tearful bride. Thy death and mine are linked, and it is plain that I must follow thee whate'er betide. Morandro, friend, it must be so. No word of thine will keep me from thy side. Morandro, if go thou must, let us together go, and in the silence of the gloomy night make sudden fierce assault upon the foe. Bear nothing with thee but thine armour light, for lucky chance and daring will combined will serve us more than hardest mail in fight. Bear also this fixed purpose in thy mind, to seize and carry off with daring hand whatever good provision thou canst find. Leoncio, then let us go, I am at thy command. Exeunt. Scene Roman 2 Numantines. First, dear brother, let our spirits through our eyes pour forth their wailings changed to bitter tears. Let death approach and bear away as prize our hapless life of misery and fears. Second, a little space will end our griefs and sighs, for death stands ready armed and now appears to bear on speedy wings as welcome spoil whatever dwells upon Numantian soil. I see most truly what the tokens are, that our dear land must sink in awful gloom, nor need these Roman ministers of war decree our ruin and adjudge our doom. Our own who reckon it more fearful far that we should drag out life within a tomb, have given sentence that we end our days, a stern decree but worthy of all praise. They now have raised within the public square a monstrous greedy all-consuming fire, whose flames replenished by our riches rare assail the very heavens in their ire. To this with quickened speed pricked on by care, or else with timid feet which sufferings tire, come all as to a holy sacrifice, and feed its flames with all the wealth they prize. The pearl of beauty from the rosy east, the gold into 1,000 vessels made, the diamond and ruby bright increased, with stores of purple fine and rich brocade, are hurled into the blazing fire to feast its fierce luxurious flames with grand parade. Spoils these which might have served the Roman bands to fill their bosoms and enrich their hands. Here enter certain people laden with robes, who go in by one door and out by the other. Turn thee to see a sight of misery. See how our swarming folk of every name, with quickened steps and eager faces fly, to feed the fury of the maddened flame, and not with faggots green or fodder dry, or any worthless fuel like the same, but with their garnered wealth and luckless treasure, which in its burning gives them greater pleasure. First, if such a deed as this would end our woe, we well might see and bear it patiently, but it is decreed as well I know, O cruel sentence that we all must die, before the barbarous rigour of the foe upon our necks with cruel grip shall lie. Ourselves our executioners must be, and not these Romans steeped in perfidy. Think every woman, child, and old man here, by stern decree to death must straightway go, since in the end the pangs of hunger drear will take their lives, and with a fiercer blow. But brother, mark the woman drawing near, who once upon a time, as thou dost know, was loved by me, and with a love as great as is the sorrow which is now her fate. A woman enters with a child in her arms, and leading another by the hand who carries robes to be burned. Mother, oh this life so hard and dread, agony intense and drear. Son, mother, is there no one here who for this will give us bread? Mother, neither bread nor other thing fit for thee to eat, my son. Son, then indeed am I undone. Hunger kills me with its sting. Give me bread, one little jot. Mother, I will ask no more. Mother, son, thy words do pain me sore. Son, mother, then thou wishest not. Mother, yes I wish, but know not where bread to get, though oft I try it. Son, mother, thou mayst surely buy it. If not, let me buy it theirs, yet to quit me of my dread. If on anyone I fold, I will give him clothes and all, for one little bit of bread. Mother to her infant, suckest thou, thou hapless brood? Feel'st not that to my unrest, thou from out my withered breast draw'st not milk but simple blood? Take the flesh, and bit by bit may it give thee much content, for my feeble arms and spent thee to carry are not fit. O ye children of my heart, can I give ye life afresh, if scarce with my very flesh I can nourishment impart? Hunger, with thy biting breaths, how thou cuttest short my life, O thou hard and cruel strife, sent alone to cause me death. Son, mother mine, I cannot stay, back and homeward let us go. Hunger only seems to grow as we journey on the way. Mother, here my son the house must be, whence we presently shall throw down into the fiery glow all the load that presses thee. Exeunt. Act Roman 4 Scene Roman 1. They sound to arms with great vehemence, and at the alarm there enter on the stage Scipio, Jugurtha, and Caius Marius. Scipio, what meaneth this who sounds the call to arm? At such a time my captains have ye found, some maddened straggling men who to their harm would seek a sepulchre within this ground? Or hath some mutiny the war alarm provoked with such an urgent deafening sound? For this proud foe I hold so firmly now, I have more terror of the friend I vow. Enter Quintus Fabius with sword unsheathed. Quintus Fabius, calm prudent general, thine angry mood, for this my blade doth know the cause right well, which now hath cost thee many a soldier good, of those who most in manliness excel. 2 Numantines with pride and daring rude, whose deeds of courage my applause compel, o'erleaping the wide ditch and battled height, have waged within thy camp a cruel fight. They sallied through our guards and pickets first, to face 1,000 spears in open fray, and dealt their blows with such a fury cursed, that to our very camp they hewed their way. Into Fabricius' tent with rage they burst, and made of strength and valour such display, that in an instant 6 stout men and true were by their deadly steel pierced through and through. Near did the burning bolt with speedier flight cleave in its onward course the smitten air, near did the meteor with its stream of light more quickly pass athwart the heavens fair, than passed these two exulting in their might, through middle of thy host and soaked the bare hard ground with Roman blood which forth did stream, where'er their flashing swords were seen to gleam, with breast pierced through the bold Fabricius lay, Horatius fell with head cleft to the brain, Almeda lost his right arm in the fray, and little hope of life doth now remain. Our brave Astatius made a full display of all his lithesome vigour, but in vain. For as he ran the Numantine to meet, his passage on to death was still more fleet, with speed of lightning hurrying where they met. They ran from tent to tent until they found some scraps of biscuit which they seized as prey. With fury still unquenched they turned them round. The one escaped by flight and got away. 1,000 swords made t'other bite the ground, whence I infer that hunger made them bold, and raised their daring to a pitch untold. Scipio, if worn with hunger shut in utterly, they show such daring and such martial ire, what would they not have done remaining free, with all their strength and ardour still entire? Unvanquished now yet vanquished shall ye be, for all your reckless fury will expire, when matched against our prudence and our skill, which have the power to crush the proudest will. Exeunt Scipio and his men, and presently they sound to arms in the town, and Morandro enters wounded and streaming with blood, with a little white basket on his left arm, containing a small piece of biscuit, stained with blood, and says, Morandro, canst them not Leoncio say, friend, what hath befallen thee? If thou comest not with me, how can I without thee stay? Friend, where art thou? Tell me where, dying dead alas to grieve me. Never, never wouldst thou leave me. It was I who left thee there. Can it be that thou art lost? All thy flesh in pieces torn, tokens of the price forlorn, which this bread of mine hath cost. Why did not that fatal blow, which hath laid thee with the dead, rather fall upon my head, take my life and end my woe? But the fates in cruel mood would not have me thus to die, gave me greater misery, gave to thee the higher good. Thou wilt bear the palm for ever of the lealest truest friend, and to thee my soul ill send, to excuse my rash endeavour, quickly for a craving dread, lures me on my death to meet, at my dearest Lyra's feet, giving her this bitter bread, bread which from the foe was taken, tea's more precious food, purchased with the very blood of two friends by luck forsaken. Lyra enters with some robes, which she is taking to be burned, and says, Lyra, what is this mine eyes behold? Morandro, him whom soon no more thou'lt see, for my pains are crushing me, with a speed I cannot hold. Ended, Lyra, is the strife, and my promise kept have I, that thou shouldst not have to die, while I have one spark of life. Even better might I say, that thou soon wilt come to know how thy strength with food will grow, and my life will pass away. Lyra, what say'st thou, Morandro dear? Morandro, Lyra, thou wilt lose thy hunger, while by fate in cruel anger, life I lose and end it here. But my blood so freely poured, mingled with the bread ye eat, will beloved one and sweet, but a bitter meal afford. Here thou hast the bread well guarded, by full 80,000 fiends, and which cost 2 faithful friends life and all they most regarded. Love that so for thee hath bled, well my lady mayst thou cherish. I that love thee so must perish, and Leoncio lieth dead. My affection pure and bright, take it with thy hand of love, that is food all price above, and will give thee most delight, since in hours of joy and dole, thou hast been my love I vow. Take my body now. As thou hast received my soul. He falls dead, and Lyra gathers him in the folds of the robes. Lyra, O Morandro, sweetest one, how art thou, what dost thou feel? How hath all thy strength of steel passed away and been undone? Woe is me, and is it true that my spouse is lying dead? O event of direst dread, that misfortune ever knew! Who hath made thee sweetest friend, having excellence supreme, valiant lover to extreme, luckless soldier at the end? Thou didst sally to the strife, husband mine in such a way, that to give my death delay, thou hast robbed me of my life. O thou bread with blood bestained, which for me was freely shed, I do not esteem thee bread, it is poison I have gained. To my mouth ill carry thee, not to give me nourishment, but to kiss to my content that dear blood which flowed for me. At this point there enters a youth speaking in an exhausted way, who is the brother of Lyra. Brother, Lyra's sister, pained am I, for my sire is dead and gone, and my mother left alone, dieth now as I must die. Hunger fell hath laid them low. Sister mine, and hast thou bread? Bread, how slowly hast thou sped? For I cannot taste thee now. Hunger makes my throat to shrink, with such rigour though the bread were as water pure instead. Not one droplet could I drink. Take it to thee, sister dear, for my senses to confound. Now I see the bread abound, whilst my life is ebbing here. He falls down dead. Lyra, brother dear, and art thou gone? Neither breath nor life has he. Ill is good in some degree, when it cometh all alone. Fortune, wherefore dost thou grieve me, with one loss and then another? Wherefore at one time together, orphan widow, dost thou leave me? O thou cruel Roman host, how thy sword doth gird me round, with two corpses on the ground. Spouse and brother both are lost. Sweetest husband, tender brother, you ill match in loving well. For in heaven or in hell's, soon ill see the one and other. In the manner of my deaths, I to part from you am loath, for the sword and hunger both have to take my latest breath. Rather will I give my breast, point of dagger, than this bread, for to one who lives in dread, death is gain and sweetest rest. Am I coward, can it be? Arm of mine, what dost thou fear? Sweetest husband, brother dear, I am coming, wait for me. At this point there enters a woman flying, and behind her a Numantian soldier, with a short sword in his hand to kill her. Woman, eternal sire, O Jove compassionate, protect me in this dire extremity. Soldier, although thou hurry with a speed more great, beneath my ruthless hand thou hast to die. Exit the woman, and Lyra says, Lyra, thy cutting sword, thy warlike arm of weight, on me their fatal power, good soldier, try. Let her who prizes life with life remain, and take mine own, for it is full of pain. Soldier, although it is the Senate's stern command, that not one woman shall in life abide, where shall we find the bold audacious hand, who would not from thy beauty turn aside? I, lady, am not one of such a band, nor do I wish to be thy homicide. Some other hand and sword must strike for me, for I was born alone to worship thee. Lyra, this mercy which to me thou dost extend, O valiant soldier, I do swear to thee, and heaven above its seal to this will lend, that I esteem it harshest cruelty. I would have held thee as a very friend, if with a steady hand and courage free, thou hadst transpierced my heart so full of woes, and brought my wretched being to a close. But since thou wilt thy pity now bestow, against my wish and to increase my gloom, then to my wretched spouse like pity show, and help me now to bear him to his tomb. Take thou my brother too, who lieth low upon the ground, cut off with life in bloom. My husband went to death to save my life, while hunger bore my brother from the strife. Soldier, to all that thou requirest I adhere, provided on the way thou wilt relate what brought thy loving spouse and brother dear to this the last extremity of fate. Lyrith, my friend, I have no strength to speak, I fear. Soldier, art thou exhausted, is thy pain so great? Bear thou thy brother, for the load is less, and I thy spouse it giveth more distress. Exeunt, bearing the two bodies. Scene Roman 2. Here enters a woman armed with a shield on the left arm, and a short lance in her hand, who represents war. Along with her comes sickness, leaning on a crutch, her head swathed with bandages, wearing a yellow mask, and hunger follows clad in a robe of yellow buckram, wearing a yellow or discolored mask. These figures may be represented by men, as they wear masks. War, hunger and sickness, ministers most dire of my commands, which make the world to quail, of life and health devourers in your ire, with whom nor cries nor threats nor rights avail. Since ye are cognizant of my desire, it needs not that again I tell the tale, how pleasure and content will fill my breast, if quickly ye fulfill my stern behest. The fates with that inexorable might, whose energy none living can impair, constrain me now my forces to unite with these sagacious Roman soldiers there, who for a time will rise to glory's height, while those poor Spaniards perish in despair. But time will come when I shall change it all, will smite the mighty and assist the small, for I who am the great and powerful war, by countless mothers all in vain abhorred, though he who curses me at times errs far, unconscious of the worth that owns me Lord, do know right well that through all lands that are, shall flash the valor of the Spanish sword, at that sweet season when shall rule the land a Charles, a Philip, and a Ferdinand. Sickness, if hunger now our true and trusty friend, had not so swiftly done her work and well, and made her homicidal power extend o'er all the folk that in Numantia dwell, thy will through me would have secured its end, in such an easy manner as to swell the rich reward the Roman will obtain, much better far than what he hopes to gain, though hunger in so far as she hath sway, now holds the Numantines in such a strait, that shut and barred is every open way of happy exit from their adverse fate. Yet fury's falchion with its fearful play, the adverse sign with its tremendous weight, within their midst with such a rigour reign, there is no need of hunger or of pain. Fierce rage and madness thy attendant brood have taken foul possession of each breast, and thirst with equal relish for their blood, as if they did the Romans' grim behest. Fire, fury, slaughter are their chiefest good, to diethy reckon of all fates the best, to snatch the triumph from the Roman bands, themselves will perish by their very hands. Hunger, now turn your eyes and see the flaming fire that blazes from the tall roofs of the town. List to the fearful sighings that expire from thousand breasts while they their terror drown. Hark to the wailings terrible and dire of beauteous women who to death go down. Their tender limbs in flame and ashes lie, no father, friend, or love to heed their cry, as timid sheep upon their careless way, whom some ferocious wolf attacks and drives, go hurrying hither thither all astray, with panting dread to lose their simple lives, so fleeing from the sword's upraised to slay. Do these poor children and these tender wives run on from street to street, O fate insane, to lengthen out their certain death in vain? Within the breast of his beloved bride, the husband sheathes his keen and glittering brand, devoid of pity and of filial pride. The son against the mother turns his hand, the father casting clemency aside, against his very offspring takes his stand, and while with furious thrusts to death they bleed, he finds a piteous pleasure in the deed. No square or street or mansion can be found that is not filled with blood and with the dead. The sword destroys, the fierce fire blazes round, and cruelty with fearsome step doth tread. Soon will ye see upon the level ground the strongest and the loftiest turrets spread. The humble dwellings and the temples high shall turn to dust and ashes by and by. Come, ye shall see how in the bosoms of tender children and beloved wife, Theogenes with courage all austere doth prove the temper of his cruel knife. And when the deadly work is over, so little recks he of his wearied life. He seeks for death, and by a mode unknown, which causes other ruin than his own. War. Now let us go and see that each prepare to do his proper work within this spot. To what I say give undivided care, nor swerve from my intention by one jot. Exeunt. Scene Roman 3. Theogenes enters with 2 young sons and a daughter, and their mother. Theogenes. If love paternal hath no longer sway to check the fearful deed which I intend, think, O my sons, if I can now give way, when thoughts of honour with my purpose blend. O poignant is the grief, the sore dismay we feel when life must have a sudden end. But mine is more, since I by fate's decree your cruel executioner must be. Ye shall not live, O children of my soul, to be the Roman slaves, nor shall their power, however much it rage beyond control, above our lives and yours in triumph tower. The shortest road which leadeth to the goal of our dear liberty in this sad hour, which heaven offers us with piteous breath, conducts us only to the arms of death. Nor thou, dear consort, sweetest of thy race, shalt suffer peril from the Roman bands, nor shall they soil thy modesty and grace with eyes lascivious or with ruthless hands. My sword shall snatch thee from this foul disgrace. Their schemes shall baffled be by my commands, and this shall be the guerdon of their lust, to triumph o'er Numantia in the dust. Thou dear beloved consort, it was I who first advised that we with one accord should rather perish than as cravens lie beneath the terror of the Roman sword. I will not therefore be the last to die, nor shall my children hear. Wife, if good my lord, there were some other way to set us free, then heaven knows how happy I should be. But since it cannot be to my regret, and since my road to death is near and plain, keep back the brutal Roman sword, and let the trophy of our lives with thee remain. Though death be sure, it is my pleasure yet to die within Diana's sacred fane. Good husband, lead us, and in loving ire consign us to the sword, the rope, the fire. Theogenes, so may it be, nor let our steps be slow, for cruel fate doth urge me on to death. Son, why weepest, mother, whither do we go? Stay, stay, I am so faint I have no breath. My mother, let us eat teas, better so, for me this bitter hunger wearieth. Mother, come to my arms, my darling sweet and good, and I to thee will give thy death for food. Exeunt, and 2 lads enter, flying, one of whom is he who will hurl himself from the tower, called Viriato, the other Servio. Viriato. Servio, whither shall we fly? Servio, I will go the way thou showest. Viriato, come, how lazily thou goest. Dost thou wish that both should die? Sad one, look behind before 1,000 swords pursue to slay. Servio, never can we get away. 'Tis for us a task too sore. Tell me, what dost thou desire? Tell me, and I shall decide. Viriato, I shall run and straightway hide in the turret of my sire. Servio, Friend, 'tis well for thee to go, but I cannot, worn and weary, and the road so long and dreary. Hunger gnaws and pains me so. Viriato, wilt thou not? Servio, oh, leave me here. Viriato, if thou canst no longer fly, here alas thou hast to die. Slain by hunger, sword, or fear, go I must, for much I dread all that robs me of my life, be it fire or cruel knives, which would lay me with the dead. Exit, and Theagenes enters with 2 drawn swords, his hands bloody, and as Servio sees him come he flees and goes behind. Theagenes, O blood that from my very bosom flows, since thou belongest to my children dear, O hand which wounds thyself with deadly blows, replete with honour and with might austere, thou fortune who art privy to our woes, ye heavens devoid of pity or of cheer, afford me now in this my bitter lot some glorious speedy death upon the spot. O valiant Numantines, take ye account that some perfidious Roman foe am I. Avenge within my bosom your affront, and in its blood your hands and weapons die. He hurls one sword from his hand. Of these 2 swords take one and quick confront my fury wild, my grief that rageth high. For dying in the fight we will not know the keenest rigour of the final blow, and he who cuts the other's vital thread, let him in token of the favour free entomb within the flame the wretched dead. A duty this of highest charity. Come quick, come now, O whither have ye sped? My life the highest sacrifice will be, that sweet compassion which to friends ye show, change now to rabid rage against the foe. A Numantine, whom brave Theagenes dost thou invoke? What novel mode of dying dost thou seek? Why dost thou urge us onward and provoke to such a strange and lamentable freak? Theagenes, O valiant Numantine, if terror's yoke hath not unnerved thine arm and made it weak, take now this sword and prove its point on me, as if I were thy mortal enemy. This mode of dying better pleaseth me than any other in this time of woe. Numantine, it suits me too, and I will pleasure thee, since evil fortune seems to will it so. On to the square where now the fire we see, which burns to have our lives within its glow. Who conquers there may without fear or shame consign the vanquished to the furious flame. Theagenes, thou speakest well, make haste, for my desire outruns fate's tardy step with panting breath. Let sword devour me or the furious fire, I see our glory in whatever death. Exeunt. Scene Roman 4. Scipio, Jugurtha, Quintus, Fabius, Caius Marius, and some Roman soldiers. Scipio, unless my thoughts be guilty of deceit, or these be lying signs which ye have marked, within Numantia's walls the horrid din, the lamentable cries, the blazing fires, I fear and dread and scarcely have a doubt that these are barbarous foemen brought to bay, have turned their reckless rage against themselves. There are no people seen to man the towers, the watchmen give no customary calls, a death-like silence reigns within the town, as if these fierce and fiery Numantines were living there in peace and at their ease. Caius Marius, thou mayst at once be quit of such a doubt, for if thou wishest it, I offer me to scale the battlements, although in sooth it is a somewhat perilous risk to run, and solely to observe what our proud foes are doing now within Numantia's walls. Scipio, plant then some ladder firm against the wall, and Marius, make thy present promise good. Caius Marius, go bring the ladder, and Armilius you give orders that my buckler quick be fetched, and eke my helmet with the snow-white plume. For faith I mean this day to lose my life, or end the doubtings which possess the camp. Armilius, thy buckler and thy helmet both are brought. and see Olympius brings the ladder here. Caius Marius, commend me now to great and mighty Jove, for I am ready to fulfill my pledge. He ascends the ladder. Scipio, raise Marius, raise the knee a little more. Contract thy body and protect thy head. Courage, for thou hast reached the top at last. What seest thou? Caius Marius. Holy gods, and what is this? Jugurtha, what startles thee? Caius Marius. It startles me to see a ruddy lake of blood, and on the ground, in every street, 1,000 corpses lying. Scipio. And is there none alive? Caius Marius. I reckon not. So far at least as my own vision goes, there is no living being in the town. Scipio. Leap then within and look thee well around. Caius Marius leaps into the town. My friend Jugurtha, follow him as well. We all shall follow thee. Jugurtha. It doth not suit thy weighty office to take such a step. Assuage thy feelings, good my lord, and wait till Marius or myself return to bring the latest tidings of this haughty town. Hold firm the ladder there, ye righteous heavens. Oh, what a saddening spectacle and grim is offered to my sight, O strange event. The smoking blood is bathing all the soil. The square and streets are crowded with the dead. I mean to leap within and see the whole. Jugurtha leaps into the city, and Quintus Fabius says, Quintus Fabius, without a doubt these fiery Numantines, by their barbaric fury goaded on, have chosen rather to consign their lives unto the sharp edge of their very swords, than yield them up to our victorious hands, whose sight and touch are horrible to them. Scipio. If but one living being had remained in Rome, they had not me the triumph grudged of having curbed and crushed this haughty race, the fierce and mortal foemen of our name, in will determined ready I to face the greatest peril and the direst risk, whom not a Roman here can ever boast of having challenged with the naked sword, whose valour, whose dexterity in arms, have forced me and with reason to surround, and pen them in like fierce untamed beasts, and gain that triumph with my art and skill, which was impossible by dint of arms. But Marius now returns, it seems to me. Marius enters by descending from the wall and says, Caius Marius, in vain, illustrious prudent general, have we expended all our strength and might. In vain hast thou been diligent withal. Thy hopes of victory that seemed so bright, assured thee by thy martial skill and lore, have changed to smoke and vanished out of sight. The mournful story and the end full sore of proud Numantia's unconquered town deserve to be remembered evermore. Their loss and fall have gained them good renown. Their dying, which displayed their firmness most, hath snatched from thee the triumph and the crown. Our schemes are vain and all our labour lost. Their death with honour better issue shows, that all the power the Roman arms can boast. This people, wearied with their countless woes, have snatched themselves from life and misery, and given their long account a sudden close. Numantia now is changed into a sea of ruby blood encumbered with the slain, who fell by self-inflicted cruelty. Escaped have they from slavery's grinding chain, whose load unequalled they declined to bear, with swift audacity that feared no pain. I saw within the middle of the square, exposed to view, a fiercely blazing fire, fed with their corpses and their riches rare, and as I gazed there came with kindling ire Theogenes, that valiant Numantine, intent on death with an insane desire, and as he cursed his fate and luckless sign, he sprang into the middle of the flame, with fury suited to his mad design. And as he sprang he cried, O brilliant fame, come hither with thy countless tongues and eyes. Behold a deed it fits thee to proclaim. Approach ye Romans and receive the prize of this rich town to dust and ashes changed, its fruits and flowers to thistles turned likewise. I went away with steps and thoughts deranged, and paced the chief part of the city round. Through all the ruined streets and lanes I ranged, but not one single Numantine I found, whom I could seize alive and bear away, to bring thee tidings with a certain sound. For what grave reason, in what fearful way, they hurried on to ruin utterly, with such a grand and terrible display. Scipio, and was mayhap my breast filled full and high, with barbarous arrogance and deaths combined, and clean devoid of righteous cruelty. Is it perchance quite foreign to my mind, to treat the vanquished with the mercy due, as fits the victor who is brave and kind? Right badly in Numantia's town ye knew the manly valour reigning in my breast, which burns to conquer and to pardon too. Quintus Fabius, my lord Jugurtha may have news the best concerning that which thou desirest to know, for see he now returns with much unrest. Jugurtha returns by the same wall. Jugurtha, O prudent general, 'tis vain to show thy valour further here some other where, thy matchless skill and industry bestow. Thy work is over in Numantia there, they all are dead and gone save one I ween, who still doth live to give thee triumph rare. Within that very tower as I have seen, there right in front of us doth lurk a youth, alarmed and timid, but of gentle mien. Scipio, this is enough to make if it be truth. In Rome my triumph o'er Numantia sure, for more I do not now desire in sooth. Let us go straightway thither and procure some means to get the youth within our hands. Alive, for that is needful to secure. Viriato from the tower, what come ye here to seek, ye Roman bands? If ye would fain within Numantia go, there's naught to hinder ye in all these lands. But with my tongue I give you here to know that I possess this city's ill-kept keys, which death hath triumphed over as a foe. Scipio, O youth, I come desirous to have these, but more to let thee know what lies for thee of pity in this bosom, if thou please. Viriato, too late is all thy tardy clemency, when there are none to claim it, since I go to face the rigour of our stern decree. For that resolve so full of grief and woe, made by my kinsmen and my country dear, hath caused the fearful final end ye know. Quintus Fabius, this rash endeavour dazzles thee, I fear. Say, dost thou hold it as a dreadful fate to keep thy life in all its bloom and cheer? Scipio, assuage, O tender youth, thine ardour great. Subject the slender valour thou hast stored to mine, which hath more honour and more weight. For from this day I pledge my faith and word that thou wilt be what more canst thou require, thine only master and thy proper lord, and thou wilt jewels have and rich attire, and live a life as happy and as free as I can give thee and thou canst desire, if thou surrender with good will to me. Viriato, the complete fury of the countless dead, within this city now reduced to dust, their fear of pactions with the foeman made, their horror of subjection all unjust, Numantia's hatreds and her rancours dread, I hold them all within this heart as trust. I am the heir of all her bravery. What folly then to think of conquering me? Beloved land, O town unfortunate, fear not that I reared in thy bosom dear. Do rave about my duty in this strait, or ear will flinch through promise or through fear. Though country fail me now and heaven and fate, though all the world conspire to crush me here, it cannot be that I will ever do what is not worthy of thy valour true. If to this hiding place I ran through fear, the fear of speedy death and desperate, ill sally forth with mind and courage clear, impelled to follow and to share thy fate. Vile dread hath passed, and I will offer here amends as daring as the fault was great, and this the error of my guileless age, ill pay by dying with a manly rage. O valiant citizens, I here maintain that I do hold your grand resolve as trust, that these base Romans shall no triumph gain, unless it be above our very dust. Their scheming plans with me shall prove in vain, if so they deal at me a deadly thrust, or wile me on with promises of weight, to life and pleasure that witty opened gate. Hold, Romans, let your burning ardour cease, to break the wall ye have no need to move, for though your mighty power should more increase, ye shall not conquer me as I shall prove. My firm resolve ye now may view in peace, and if ye doubt the pure and perfect love, which I have cherished for my country dear, this fall of mine will straightway make it clear. He hurls himself from the tower. Scipio, O matchless action worthy of the meed, which old and valiant soldiers love to gain, thou hast achieved a glory by thy deed, not only for Numantia but for Spain. Thy valour strange, heroical indeed, hath robbed me of my rights and made them vain, for with thy fall thou hast upraised thy fame, and levelled down my victories to shame. O could Numantia gain what she hath lost, I would rejoice if but to see thee there, for thou hast reaped the gain and honour most of this long siege illustrious and rare. Bear then, O stripling, bear away the boast, enjoy the glory which the heavens prepare, for thou hast conquered by thy very fall him who in rising falleth worst of all. A trumpet sounds and fame enters. Fame, from land to land let my clear voice extend, and with its sweetest most melodious sound, to every soul an ardent longing lend, to make this deed eternally renowned. Raise, Romans, raise your heads which lowly bend, bear off this body which such vigour found, in green and tender age to snatch from you the glorious triumph which you thought your due. For I who am the far-resounding fame, for ever on while moves the orb of light, with step majestic through the heavenly frame, and gives this lower world new strength and might, will give good heed to publish and proclaim, with tongue of truth, with winged words and right, Numantia's valiant worth unique and sole, from Nile to Baltic and from pole to pole. This peerless deed hath given proofs most plain, what valour in the ages yet to be shall dwell within the sons of mighty Spain, the heirs of such ancestral bravery. The cruel scythe of death shall work in vain, and eke the flight of time to hinder me from sounding forth in song without control Numantia's powerful arm and constant soul. In her alone I find such worth extreme as claims a record in the proudest lays, such wealth of matter for the poet's theme, I that thousand ages may rehearse always, her deathless courage and her strength supreme, which claim in prose and verse the loftiest praise. 'Tis mine in trust to garner so much glory, and so give happy ending to our story. End of the tragedy. Notes. Note 1, page 1. Scipio, this general, was the famous Publius Scipio Aemilianus Africanus Minor. His first campaign in Spain was in the year B. Roman 100, when he acted as legatus to the consul Lucius Licinius Lucullus, who was then engaged in the conquest of the Celtiberians. He greatly distinguished himself at the siege of Intercatia, where he was the first to scale the battlements, and received for his exploit a mural crown. He also displayed his personal courage in fighting single-handed and slaying a mighty Spanish giant who used to insult and defy the whole Roman camp. He was then about 34 years of age in the year B. Roman 100. He was elected consul and sent to Africa, where he fulfilled the stern mandate of the Senate delenda est Carthago, and became the most renowned warrior of his age in the year B. Roman 100, when affairs in Spain were at the lowest ebb, and the Numantines had thoroughly cowed the Roman. Scipio was again made consul, and sent to do what no one else was thought competent to do, bring the siege of Numantia to a final end. The result is well known, and details may be found in the pages of Flora's Appian Plutarch and Livy. A very graphic summary of these is given in the third book of Mariana's Historia de España. The vivid picture presented in this tragedy of Cervantes may suffice, however, for the present generation, though Scipio is therein represented simply as the chief minister of fate, yet his personality stands boldly out, and his character as accomplished scholar, stern disciplinarian, and cautious tactician is very skillfully portrayed. His stirring address to the soldiers is a perfect epitome of his whole military creed. The fall of Numantia was the sensation of the day throughout the empire and the last great military feat of Scipio. It settled the fate of Spain. For many a long year Scipio entered Rome in triumph, and the Senate added to his other titles that of Numantinus. Note 2, page 1. Jugurtha, this notorious Numidian prince, the illegitimate son of Manastabal, grandson of Massinissa, and the nephew of Messapsa, king of Numidia, was sent by his uncle to give succor to Scipio during the siege of Numantia. He arrived there with a train of 10 elephants and a goodly array of horse and foot. His uncle's secret design, however, was to get rid of him as a dangerous rival to his own sons Adherbal and Hiempsal in the succession to the crown. This, however, was not to be. Jugurtha not only survived the campaign, but so distinguished himself that he became a prime favourite of Scipio, and returned to his native country with added lustre to his name and stores of military experience, his after-career adventurous, reckless, and unfortunate, which led him at last to the Mamertine prisons in Rome, does not concern us. It is to be found, as every schoolboy knows, in the brilliant pages of Salustius de Bello Jugurthino. Note 3, page 2. Caius Marius, this man whom Cervantes represents as a bluff, quick-witted, daring soldier, was the celebrated Caius Marius, a plebeian by birth and the cruel scourge of the patricians in after times. He was only 23 years of age at the date of the siege, and was still in the ranks. His peculiar military qualities gained him the goodwill of Scipio, who used often to invite him to his table. On one occasion, when the question was asked where a similar general to Scipio could be found when he was gone, Scipio placed his hand on the shoulder of Marius and said smilingly, "There perhaps the glory and experience he gained under Scipio's auspices were the foundation of his future fortunes." Strange to say, when 20 years afterwards he rode in triumphal procession through the streets of Rome on account of his victories in Africa, the principal captive who graced his triumph was his old Numantian comrade Jugurtha. In chains the prince and the peasant had met again, but under what altered circumstances? Note 4, page 6. Full 16 years and more according to the Latin historians, the war with Numantia lasted 14 years, and the close siege under Scipio a year and 3 months. The ruins of Numantia are still to be seen at Puente de Garay, near the source of the Duero, about 5 miles from Soria, an ancient town of Old Castile. The present remains, however, are principally imperial and prove that the town must afterwards have been rebuilt. Numantia was a stronghold by nature. It was situated on a little hill, precipitous on 3 sides, and on the 4th looking towards the north, sloping down to a spacious plain, covered with thick forests and fertile fields, watered by the Terra, a tributary of the Duero. From its commanding position in the centre of northern Spain, it served as a bulwark to check the advance of the Roman legions, and also as a city of refuge for the oppressed tribes. According to Cervantes, its warriors amounted only to 3,000. Can 3,000 stand the shock of the 80,000 there? Some historians estimate the number at 8,000, and even this seems too small for the grandeur of their achievements. On one occasion, 3 years before the advent of Scipio, when the consul Caius Hostilius Mancinus raised the siege in despair, and attempted to escape through the defiles of the mountain, by night the Numantines sallied forth in force, slaughtered 20,000 of the Roman troops, and allowed the rest to capitulate under condition of signing a perpetual peace with Numantia, and retiring to Roman Senate repudiated the transaction, and sent back the disgraced consul to submit to the mercy of the Numantines. Thereafter it was found necessary to concentrate the whole military talent of Rome on the reduction of this proud city. The siege of Numantia, like that of Saguntum, displayed in a marvellous way the tenacity, vigour, and reckless heroism of the aboriginal tribes of Spain. It was therefore with a pardonable pride that Cervantes, intent on rousing the patriotic feeling of his countrymen, addressed them as Los Hijos de la Fuerte Hispana, Hijos de Tales Padres Herederos. Note 5, page 20. Thou gentle Doro. This passage in the original is admired for its exquisite sweetness. We give it as a specimen of the melodious octaves of Cervantes. Duero gentle que can torcidas vueltas, humideces gran part de mi seno. Ansi en tus aguas semper vis en vueltas, arenas de oro qual el tajo emina. Y ansi las ninfas fugitivas sueltas, de que estrel verde prado y basque lina. Vengan humildes a tus aguas claras, y en prestat favor no sean avaras, que prests a mis asperos lamentos, atanto oido o que a escacharlas vengas, y onc dexis un rato tus contentos, supplicote que en nada te detengas, si tu con tus continuos crecimientos, distos feros Romans no me vengas, cerrado via y qualquia camina, a la salad del pueblo numantina. This famous river, the Durius of the Romans, we prefer calling in Portuguese fashion the Douro, as being a name more familiar to English ears, and more amenable too to the laws of rhythm. Note 6, page 22. And forcing way into the Vatican, the event here alluded to is the fearful sack of Rome in 1527, perpetrated by a portion of the army of Charles Roman V, under the command of the Constable de Bourbon, when the Pope took refuge, and was besieged in the castle of St. Angelo. The pilot of the sacred bark was Clement Roman 7, note 7, page 23. The Great Albano, this is a poetical name for Fernando Alvarez de Toledo, the Duke of Alva, who was famous for many things, and infamous for more. The exploit referred to is the siege of Rome by Alva, after the Battle of St. Quentin 1557, when the French, who were allies of Pope Paul Roman IV against the Spaniards, had to leave Italy to save their own capital and country in the time of Cervantes, no doubt. This siege was looked upon with pride as a brandishing of the Spanish knife above the Roman neck, but in the light of history, we see nothing more than a mock siege, a mock defense, and a mock withdrawal. Alva's hands were thoroughly fettered by his devout master Philip Roman II, who feared to humiliate the Pope too much lest he should lose his title of Most Catholic Majesty. This event is narrated with sarcastic brevity by Motley in the third book of his History of the Netherlands. Note 8, page 23. The second Philip II, yet to none no doubt Philip Roman II at this period, had more power in his hand than had ever been held by a purely Spanish king. Motley, in his characteristic way, thus sums up his many titles. He was king of all the Spanish kingdoms, and of both the Sicilies he was titular king of England, France, and Jerusalem. He was absolute dominator in Asia, Africa, and America. He was Duke of Milan, and both the Burgundies and hereditary sovereign of the 17 Netherlands. To all this mighty inheritance, he himself added the crown of Portugal. Cervantes took a part maimed as he was in this conquest, and it is therefore with legitimate pride that he speaks of the Lusitanian banner that had been knit anew to the stately robes of Castile 60 years. However, suffice to tear it asunder again what Cervantes thought of Philip as a man and a ruler we can only conjecture. 12 years after, in 1598, when the life of this monster of cruel bigotry had come to an end, and pompous funeral rites were everywhere being celebrated, we find Cervantes standing in the Cathedral of Seville, gazing on the astounding catafalque, raised in honor of the deceased, and reciting with a roguish air that famous sonnet of his beginning, I vow to God this grandeur stuns my brain. This sonnet, which Cervantes prized as the prime honor of his writings, honra principal de mis escritos, and which his countrymen regard as a model of exquisite raillery, was certainly not intended to do honor to the dead Philip, was no friend of poets, players, or outspoken thinkers, and literature, breathed again, when he expired for a translation of the sonnet. See Gibson's translation of the Journey to Parnasius p. 375. Note 9, page 51. The bawdy Ticknor, who is certainly not over-lavish at any time in his praise of Cervantes, declares that the incantations of Marquino surpass in dignity those of the Faustus of Marlowe, who was a contemporary of Cervantes. He also affirms that not even Shakespeare, when he presents on the stage the armed head raised up under constraint to reply to the criminal inquiries of Macbeth, excites so much our sympathy and horror as does Cervantes with that tormented spirit, which returns to life, only to suffer a second time the pangs of dissolution and death. We give here the original of the speech of the resuscitated corpse, which Bouterweck describes as terrific. El cuerpo sees la furia del rigor violento. Tuyo Marquino based trist based. La que yo paso en la region escura. Sin que tu crezcas más mi desventura. Enganast si piensas que recibo. Contento de volver a esta penosa. Misera y corta vida que ahora vivo. Que ya me va faltando prisa rosa. antis mi cosas un dolor esquivo, pius otra vez la muerte rigorosa, triunfara de mi vida y de mi alma, mi enemigo tendra de blada palma, el cual con otros del escuro bando, de los que son sujetos a aguardart, esta con rabia en torno aquí esperando, a que acabe marquino de informart, del lamentable fin del mal nefando, que de Numancia pudo asegurat, la cual acabara a los mismas manos, de los que son a ella más cercanos. Throughout this scene, the pompous solemnity of the regular priests and the mock-heroic fury of Marquino are cleverly contrasted. Cervantes, who from his readings was familiar with all sorts of wizards and enchanters, makes Marquino a kind of old-world Merlin, kept however under necessary tragic restraint. The time had not yet come for the humours of Don Quixote. Note 10 page 65. Sons of mothers sad in lot, this spirited speech of one of the Numantine wives has the true Spartan ring in it, of which our translation is but a feeble echo. We give the most effective part of it in the original. Hijos distas tristes maders, que es esto como no hable, y con lágrimas rogais, que no os dexen vuestros padres, basta que la hember insana, os acabe con dolor, sin esperar el rigor, de la esperanza romana, desildas que os engendraren, libres y libres nacistes, y que vuestras madres tristes, también libres os criaran, desildas que pius la suerte, nuestra votan decada, que como os dirán la vida, ansi mismo os den la muerte, o muros desta ciudad, si podéis hablar decid, y mil veces repeted, Numantinos libertad. Note 11 page 69. Cause that these wretched Romans, the morale of the tragedy as a whole is so perfect, and the character of Theagenes as represented is so noble and chivalrous, that this savage decree of his seems strange, and out of keeping. There are, it is true, more brutal things presented in Titus Andronicus, but that is hardly a model of tragic dignity and decorum. The Latin historians tell us that when the crisis arrived, the Numantine citizens ate raw flesh, and drugged themselves with a liquor called celia, to madden themselves for the unnatural slaughter. But artistically speaking, there was no necessity to give such things prominence, especially in the mouth of Theagenes. Note 12 page 70. Morandro Bouterweck says the transition into light redondillas, for the purpose of interweaving with the serious business of the fable, the loves of a young Numantine named Morandro, and his mistress is certainly a fault in the composition of the tragedy. But to this fault we are indebted for some of the finest scenes in the drama. We agree with the latter assertion, but not with the former. Neither nature nor art forbids the combination, and if love was to be introduced at all into such a play, the redondilla measure on the Spanish stage at least was de rigueur. It seems to us that the little ray of sunshine let into the surrounding gloom, and then suddenly extinguished, gives a deeper intensity to the supervening darkness. These love scenes, moreover, if such they may be called, for they are very saddening, lead up to some of the most tragic scenes of the drama. Tickner has rendered the whole scene with much spirit, but not in the metre nor with the simplicity of the original. We give two short extracts. The first contains the opening stanzas. Morandro, no veas tan de corrida, lira de Jaime Gazar, del bien que mi pud dar, en la muerte leger vida, deja que miran mis ojos, un rato tu hermigere, pius tanto mi desventura, si entreshan en mis enojos, o dulce lira que sunas, continuo en mi fantasia, con tan suave harmonia, que vuelve en gloria mis penas, que tines que estás pensando, gloria de mi pensamiento. The second extract is the parting scene, which is justly praised for its pathetic tenderness. Lira, Morandro mi dulce amigo, no veas que si mi antoja, que de tu sangre vil roja, la espada del enemigo, no hagas esta jornada, Morandro bien de mi vida, que si es mala la salida, es mi peor la tornada, Si quiro a placa tu brie. Por testigo pongo al cielo. Que de mi dano recila. Why no del provcho mia. Mas si acaso amado amigo. Prosigues esta contienda. Leva est abrazo por prender. De que mi levas contigo. Note 13 page 109. I saw within the middle of the square this fine description of the end of the Aegeans as seen, and described by Marius, may fitly wind up our extracts from the original. It is written in very vigorous tercets, a form of verse, in which Cervantes was more expert than in any other. En medio de la plaza levantada. Esta un ardiente fuego temeroso. De sus cuerpos y haciendas sustentado. A tiempo leg a verl que el furioso. Teogens valiant Numantina. De fenecer su vida dicioso. Maldiciendo su corto amargo signo. En medio si arjaba de la lama. Lino de temerario disatino. Y al ergos dijo o clara fama. Occupa aquitas lenguas vitas ojos. En esta hazana quer canter ti lama. Venid romanos y por los despojos. Deste ciudad en palva y humo envueltos. Y sus flores y frutos en abrojos. Note 14 page 112. Viriato, it is a touch of genius on Cervantes' part to give this youth, who concentrates at last in his own person, all the heroism of his nation, the name of the illustrious Lusitanian hero, Viriatus, the William Wallace of his age and country, who for more than a decade was the terror of the Romans, and the pride of his nation, and who, like the Scottish hero, was at last done to death by treachery. End of the notes.